We had all been looking forward for this camping trip for months. No phones, no laptops, no connections to the outside world, just pure unfiltered nature. It was supposed to be an escape to find a way to recharge our souls. Little did we know, it would end up being the last escape for most of us. The group consisted of me, Eric, Jessica, and Brian. Friends since high school, now in our late 20s, trying to recapture some of that usefulness we had when we were younger. We had no particular destination in mind, just a general direction deeper into the woods. The further we went, the more isolated we felt. The trees grew denser, the air colder. It was Eric who first spotted the cabin, nestled in a small clearing. It looked like something straight out of a horror movie. A single-story wooden structure with a mini barn at the side and a small garden that had long since been withered away. Yet despite its discrepant appearance, something about it felt inviting. "Looks abandoned," Brian said, peering through one of the grimy windows. "Could be a good place to crash for the night." Jessica hesitated. "Are you sure? It feels off." But Brian was already pushing the door open, and curiosity got the better of the rest of us. Inside, the cabin was modestly furnished. A bed, a bedside table, a dining table with chairs, and a small kitchen area. Dust and cobwebs covered everything, but it was dry and relatively intact. It was an easy decision to stay the night, especially with the darkness settling in. It was later, after we set up sleeping arrangements and had dinner, that Eric found the door to the basement. I wish I could say we had the senses to leave it alone, but we didn't. Instead, we followed Eric down into the darkness, the air growing colder with each step. The basement was a stark contrast to the cabin above. It was large and circular, with strange symbols covered into the walls. At the center was what appeared to be an altar, surrounded by an old, rotting candles. Dried bloodstains marinated the floor, and a deep, unsettling silence filled the room. "What the hell is this?" Jessica whispered, her voice trembling. None of us had an answer. Fear began to take hold, but it was too late to turn back. The symbols on the walls seemed to pulsate as if they were alive, and a sense of dread filled the air. We decided to foolishly go back up the stairs to try out sleeping, hoping to put the nightmare out of our minds. That night, the horror began. I was the first one to hear it, a low gruntle chanting coming from beneath the floorboards. I bolted upright, my heart pounding, only to see Eric and Jessica and Brian were already awake, their eyes open with terror. "The basement," Brian muttered. "It's coming from the basement." Before we could decide on what to do, the door to the cabin swung open, and silhouetted in the moonlight stood figures in dark robes, their faces hidden beneath the hoods. They moved silently, like shadows, surrounding us before we could react. The next few moments were a blur of screams and blood and pain. They dragged us one by one back into the basement. The chanting grew louder, more frequent. As they bound us to the altar, the symbols on the walls began to glow with a sickly greenish light. I watched in horror as they sacrificed my friends, one after another. The cultist knives were swift and precise and merciless. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my throat. All I could do was watch as they bled out, their lifeless bodies slumped to the cold stone floor. And then it was my turn. But instead of killing me, the leader of the cult, an older man with eyes that seemed to pierce through my soul, leaned in close and whispered into my ears in a language I could not understand. The air around me thickened, and I felt a presence, something ancient, something powerful fill the room. "You have a choice," the cult leader said, his voice barely more than a breath. "A wish to be granted in exchange for your soul." I didn't hesitate. The words spilled out of me before I could even think. "I want to be successful. I want to be popular." The cult leader smiled and the room went dark. Days later, I was found wandering the outskirts of the forest, delirious but alive. The authorities could not explain how I had survived the supposed animal attack that had claimed the lives of my friends, but they were more than happy to have survivors to tell the story. The media frenzy that followed us was overwhelming. Interviews, book deals, speaking engagements. It was everything I asked for. My name became synonymous with the horrific events in the woods. My popularity skyrocketed. But with every passing day, the memory of that night still haunts me. The guilt should have been unbearable, but it wasn't. Instead, there was a cold emptiness inside of me, a void where my soul used to be. And sometimes late at night, I could hear the chanting. The cult had fulfilled their promise, and I had become everything I wished for. But at what cost?